counted all the lying you've done to the American people. On
All the what?
everything. All the lying, all the dishonesties.
That who has done?
You have done. Tens of
Yeah,
thousands.
go ahead, please.
Donald Trump never saw it coming. The stage wasn't a courtroom. It wasn't a debate. It wasn't Fox or CNN. No, this ambush was live, it was raw, and it came from the Queen herself. Queen Latifah, that is. In a moment so unexpected and surgical in its precision, she didn't throw shade. She eclipsed him entirely. And when she spoke, it wasn't with anger. It was with clarity, with history, with truth. You could feel the crowd tighten, feel the breath catch in their throats. Because what she said wasn't just a critique. It was a reckoning. Regret all the lying you've done to the American people? The question wasn't just rhetorical. It was a challenge, dropped in the middle of a live segment, and Trump blinked. He blinked hard. Not because it was new, but because it came from her. From someone who knows what it means to rise without trampling, to speak without deceiving. Queen Latifah didn't come armed with statistics. She came armed with legacy, with family, with Black excellence. Her grandfather built a business. Her grandmother made bombs for the war effort, raised 9 children. And her other grandmother, 91 years old, raised 7. These weren't just shout-outs. They were reminders. Reminders that the American dream wasn't built on lies, but on grit, on sweat, on truth. And that's exactly what Trump couldn't handle. Because when Queen Latifah turned to him, she didn't just see a man, she saw a fraud. A man who talks about inflation hurting Black and Hispanic families while blaming immigrants for taking jobs. She saw through the thin veil of nationalism and rhetoric, through the empty promises wrapped in red caps and slogans. She saw a man who once questioned the birthplace of a Black president, who told congresswomen of color to go back to where they came from. A man who dines with white supremacists and calls Black prosecutors animals. Before we go further, smash that like and subscribe, because truth this clear, this unshaken, this powerful, it doesn't come around often. And Queen Latifah? She just lit the match. This wasn't a moment made for ratings. It wasn't for a hashtag. It was years of watching a man spin reality, sell success like a brand, and call it truth. She saw the lies long before the cameras rolled. Lies about being a self-made billionaire when he was handed millions. Lies about being a family man while his marriages crumbled like his bankrupt casinos. Lies about being a genius when even his sentences unravel before they end. Queen Latifah didn't need to go full political pundit. She didn't need notes. All she had to do was stand in her truth. And suddenly his crumbled. Because what happens when the showman meets the mirror? When the smoke clears, and the only thing left standing is a woman who's lived real life and speaks from it. Latifah turned a casual moment into a cultural scalpel. And when she dragged his marriage into it, you could almost hear the collective gasp across America. That marriage, let's talk about it. The awkward hand-holding. The 1,000-yard stares. The headlines screaming about distance and silence. Queen Latifah didn't just mention it. She exposed it. This is the longest and most expensive contract I've ever signed, she joked, channeling Melania's possible thoughts. And who didn't nod at that? We've seen the cold looks, the body language. It's a partnership wrapped in image and plastic smiles. Nothing about it feels real. Just like Trump's promises. She didn't stop there. She brought it back to Colin Kaepernick, back to police brutality, back to why it all matters. And that's the difference. Trump twists narratives to suit his ego. Latifah lifts truths to protect her people. The kneeling wasn't disrespect. It was protest. But Trump, he flipped it into division, into ratings, into another chance to make noise without substance. She reminded us that rap music, the very art form he's dismissed, has healed people, treated mental illness, told stories no one else would. And guess what? She lived it. She sat in the back of buses as a teen, writing lyrics, working through her pain. Trump says he understands America. Latifah is America. The part that builds, survives, endures, and rises again. And let's not forget the contradictions. Trump, a man who called himself the most truthful person on the planet, has lied so often it's become muscle memory. His supporters don't even flinch anymore. But the thing about lies is that they stack. They crack. And eventually, someone steps in with enough fire to burn them down. Queen Latifah didn't just burn the lies. She cremated them. And then came the absurdity. The signs at his rallies. Blacks for Trump. Women for Trump. He loves those signs, he says. Loves them like props in a play. But you don't fix a broken system by parading signs. You fix it by listening, by leading. Something Trump has never done. He spent more time golfing than governing, more time tweeting than fixing, and more time hiding than showing up. Latifah called it all out. The fake businesses, the failed marriages, the racial dog whistles wrapped in campaign speeches. She tore through the Trump brand like a hot knife through butter. And with one remark, one truth, she brought it all crashing down. Because that's what happens when someone with nothing to lose speaks to someone with everything to hide. And we haven't even touched the greatest irony of all. Trump, the supposed master of business, has left behind a trail of bankruptcies. Casinos, airlines, stakes, even a university. He calls it success. We call it what it is, grifting at scale. And when he talks about building things, we see what he actually built: distrust, division, a wall of ego so thick he can't hear the truth even when it shouts. But Queen Latifah? She didn't shout. She didn't have to. Her words carried more weight than all the tweets in his timeline. And when she was done, it wasn't just Trump who looked small. It was everything he built his image on. The illusion shattered. The mask fell. And the world watched, spellbound. People used to say Donald Trump was untouchable, that no one could cut through the noise and get to him. But Queen Latifah just proved otherwise. With one line, one moment, she reminded us all that truth doesn't need a spotlight. It just needs a voice willing to speak it. And in that moment, Trump wasn't a president or a businessman or even a media figure. He was just a man with no answers, and a nation finally ready to stop believing his fairy tale. Because when the Queen speaks, the lies stop echoing. And for once, truth gets the last word.